Today is about 2.22 in discourses by Epictetus, and he's having this and he's talking about friendship. What is friendship, um, and how do we know that it is friendship, like a genuine friendship? He's giving examples of you can call events in the Greek or in the Greek world, perhaps even the Roman, but I'm not quite sure about that. But he's saying that there are what we can call misfortunate men, like Alexander the Great, who lost his beloved who lost his beloved person in the war, and he was perhaps struck by this grief, so he burned down. See here. Yeah, so he ordered the temple of Asclepius to be burned because of the death of his beloved. Um, and he goes on saying that if a person places interest on the same side of the scales as piety, honor, homeland, his interest, or homeland and friends, these things are safe. Whereas if he puts his interest on one side and friendship, family, justice itself on the other, they are all lost, outweighed by his interest. So in that case, he's saying that Alexander uh, he saw things that he valued, like his beloved, and he you can say he connected it with like things um, like mentioned, and that made him to do these unfortunate thing, or this thing, burn down the temple. Um, and he says about other incidents too. Um, let's see here. Yeah. He says that he's talking about dog. So and he's talking about dog. If you throw a meat between them, see what you think that they were playing together and they were like friendship, then they are not, because they are chasing the meat. Um, so it goes back to the test. Epictetus says much that we need to test when we look for friendship. Okay, and he says that if there are two men, and if you see that they are friends, okay, toss a girl between them, um, and see, and he goes on saying. Um, uh, and see what happens. And insofar, and he giving another, he's saying that two brothers called Eteocles and Polonices. He's saying, um, hadn't they brought up together, lived together, dined together, shared a bedroom, exchanged many kisses? I'm sure that anyone who saw them have laughed at the philosophers for their weird ideas about friendship. So he's, uh, making fun of, philosophers that are philosophizing about friendship. And he goes on saying, um, and he goes on saying that if the if the father dies and the position fall onto somebody, then they are um, going to ask each other, like, which stand are you taking in the fortress, and so they are, inside of this action of killing, um, for what, for the possession of the fortress. He's saying that's the kind they, and he says that that's the kind of thing they pray for. Um, see here. Another is a necklace. It's about two girls, or like a wife and the man's or the husband's mother, and it's a play from the Theban plays, and the story is basically so that that one of them, needs money, or like they are, or they are like the husband's man can see through the future, and see that the war is going to not going to win. So the grandmother or the mother wants to come back home, but in order to do so, she needs money, and either, as I understand, she or the wife is going to come back home, and for that they need like a possession to sell. So there was a necklace tossed between them, and looks what happens. Um, Yeah, yeah. So, but a necklace came between them. What is a necklace? And it's a judgment about things like a necklace. That was the brutalizing factor that was shattered their love. What stopped the woman from being a wife, and the mother from being a mother. He goes on saying that, like, what happens if, you know money, possessions, love, you know love for what you want, comes into the thing, you can say. And he mentioned that they shattered their love. And if you read, the text of Epictetus, you can sense the sentiment that he values relationship, whether, between mom and wife, or father and son, or between, one stranger to another. Just that you know. Um, but um, and after, talking about those misfortunate incidents, he goes on saying that um, he goes on saying that if you fail exercise these, judgments, like these judgments, he's again talking about, the necklace and the dogs, battling against the meat, and Alexander for, being so struck with grief or perhaps angry too, or the possessions, the fortresses between Eteocles and the other. He's calling um, that uh, he's yeah. So again, he's saying that um, these are judgments, and you need to exercise um, what is it that you're making. Um, but and he's saying that if you exercise judgments um, so as to be, he says here, um, so he's saying that if you exercise your judgment as being um, that if you exercise your judgment that you see yourself as a friend, or you see yourself as a father or son, um, and you focus on like trustworthiness, self-respect, um, patience, self-control, amenability, and to maintain, he says, various family relationships. Notice here that these are all things that require, he says the will, and he says that if you can use your will to those sort of things, um, you can also not only these, but you can also um, like exercise use your will when you're looking um, in your friends. Uh, he says that if you have your will, you can, if you exercise enough, you can know the good and the bad, which we mentioned. But you can also, use the good, which we also mentioned, um, and you can choose your perceptions in friendship. So if you go outside and say um, you want to, get some friends, you want to sit down and drink with another persons, and you don't know what you're exercising or looking in a friend, then you don't know what you're doing. Um, and he says that if you go and like to look for honest and trustworthiness, that person I like when I talked with him this like so and so, he's being very honest with me, and he doesn't conceal everything, and he's a person that I can trust whatever he's saying about. Um, you know, when I sometimes ask sort of questions that requires that he doesn't want to answer, he says that I don't want to answer because that is not for me to answer. I mean, that usually happens, right? Um, if you ask something and the person doesn't feel comfortable about answering it in the first meeting, so he's being, trustworthy in that sense. Or you could say that um, you are, um, outside, and you're meeting with the same person, and you're you have your vacations off, and you need to plan to do things, and that person gets to promise you, oh, I can go with you on that day, and I promise you, and you have that promise. If that person is giving you a promise and he doesn't come up with that in the end, and then that is a sign of not holding his word. But actually Epictetus doesn't get so far. He just says that we need to test friends and see what we think they are, like what we think they are, uh, versus what they actually are. Um, and I don't think he's saying like, oh, when you know what they are actually are, then you need to make so and so decisions. No, he actually doesn't say this, but I think he doesn't say that. He says that only that you know. Um, so he says that in friendship you need to test, uh, and he says that um, friends should not change um, like often. He says that, um, but um, but anyone who's incapable telling good and bad things apart, and unable to distinguish things that are indifferent from things that are good or bad, must incapable of loving. And it goes on saying, the ability to love therefore belongs exclusively to a wise person. And it goes on saying, um, and one thing he's saying that his interest is um, that they need to be some sort of loyal. Uh, if you think that they are loyal friends, and you toss the same meat like to them as between those two dogs, see what they say. Uh, he's uh, he's saying, toss a necklace between them and see what they say. Toss a um, toss a woman between them. Although although nowadays we might not do that, but in their time they might do so. Like toss a woman between them and see what they say, or how or what they do. And he says, um, if he remains honest and trustworthy, then they are your friend. If they focus on um, yeah, so he says that if you hear these people truly believe that the good is to be found nowhere else but in will, like again, like not only you can use your will, but perhaps your friend knows also that he can use his will to focus on some on the things. Uh, if they know that and they are doing it in whatever situation mentioned, then they are your friend. He says. Um, says here, like he's using, if they if that person believes that which is good, um, And he says, you can confidently declare that they are friends, and by the same token that they are trustworthy and honest. Um, and and he ends this text saying that, uh, like, if you, like, he's not talking about uh, that friend, or Alfred or James, which are all your friends. He's talking about you. So if you exercise this judgment, he calls it, um, you will behave exactly as friends do. You will drink together, share the same berth, take trips by sea together, and you may even have the same parents after all. Even snakes do, but snakes don't make true friends, and neither will you. As long as you retain this inhuman and repulsive judgment, which now again goes all the back to uh, those